Hello everyone. Today I'm going to take up the lesson Endymion by John Keats. This is a poem written by John Keats. It's a long poem basically written in 4 books, but here what is dealing with Insights 2 is only an extract taken from book 1. So we will be just dealing with that book 1, though I'll be taking the background for all the 4 books in order to acquaint you with all the developings that take place in the poem. So let's begin. Important to introduce the author first, the poet itself. So John Keats, many of you might be knowing him as a famous English romantic poet. So romantic age, that is the 18th century and the early 19th century, John Keats belongs to that age. John Keats from October 31, 1795 and he lived till February 23, 1821. So if you can see, he just lived for 23 years. He was an English romantic poet who devoted his short life to the perfection of a poetry marked by vivid imagery, great sensuous appeal, and an attempt to express a philosophy through classical legends. So most of his poems use the classical legends as his backdrop in order to illustrate his feelings or his ideas. And John Keats has been a very famous romantic poet because of his great sensuous appeal and vivid imagery itself. He has been using it nicely and properly with all his poems so well that he became a famous poet even at the age of 23. That was a time when he died. So his father, Thomas Keats, he was a manager of the Swan and Hoop, a livery stable, and his mother, Frances Jennings, she was the daughter of the proprietor of the stables. In 1803, Keats entered John Clarke's school in Enfield, about 10 miles from London. Clarke was a liberal and his influence may have contributed to Keats' political development. So, his friend Clarke has a huge influence upon his writings, upon his life, and he was the one who has introduced him to politics as well, from where he started gaining his own experiences, personal experiences. He had a lot of love for reading, including the thrillers popular in his time, and began a prose translation of Virgil's Aeneid. So this is what he began with, Keats, and which became very popular. When he translated the Virgil's Aeneid, it became so popular in the English among the Englishmen that he became quite famous throughout. His friend Clarke was instrumental in fostering a love of music and poetry in Keats. As I already told you, Clarke has a great impact upon his life and his works. His popular odes are very famous. I am very sure many of you might have read few of these odes, that is, these are poems, earlier as well in your school curriculums. His popular odes are Ode to Nightingale, Ode on a Grecian Urn, Ode to Autumn, Ode to Melancholy, Ode to Psyche. His other poems include The Eve of Saint Agnes, La Bella Dame Sans Mercy, Isabella, and others. So all these are very hugely popular poems and all are written by John Keats here. So John Keats, as you might take it today, a very famous English romantic poet who has been writing poetry with vivid imagery, great sensuous appeal, and expressing the philosophy of his own life, what he felt through the use of classical legends as his backdrop. Okay, background to the text. So when I mean background to the text, I am taking it as a whole. I'm taking as all the 4 books which are there in Endymion. Endymion is a poetic romance, Keats' first major work, which was published in 1818, and it is considered as one of the masterpieces of the early 19th century romantic movement in English literature. Keats tried his hand at a long poem which was comprising of 4 books, and the result came out to be Endymion, an involved poetic romance in Elizabethan style. So this is written in Elizabethan style with and it's a poetic romance. It is based on the poem. This poem is based on the Greek myth of Endymion. So the backdrop is this. Based on the Greek myth of Endymion, the shepherd, who is Endymion? The shepherd, beloved of the moon goddess Selene. The poem elaborates on the original story and renames Selene as Cynthia. So, the poet Keats is imagining Cynthia as the lover of Endymion here. In this poem, a mortal, that is the shepherd Endymion, was wedded to the goddess Selene and he won immortal bliss, immortal happiness. What kind of immortal happiness? We'll see in the poem. The extract here, which is prescribed for your syllabus Insights, is coming from Endymion, Book 1, first stanza. Even Book 1 is not completely part of your portion. Only an extract taken from Book 1 is here. So I hope I'm clear to the background. Okay, few students might still wonder who is Endymion. So I wanted to discuss in detail with you about him as well and give you more clarity on the character Endymion. Endymion is a character from Greek mythology. Fine? And he announces his intentions, primes the audience for a long story and sends out a herald to the world. What herald? A call to the world. What kind of call? Probably something about his own love, probably about the beauty, something which is the theme of the poem also. He was variously a handsome alien shepherd. So he was called as an alien shepherd. He was known as an alien shepherd and hunter or a king. There are diverse stories sometimes related to his origin. A king who was said to rule and live in Olympia in Ellis Mountains, Ellis areas. He was also venerated and respected and is said to reside on Mount Latmus in Caria on the west coast of Asia Minor. This is some kind of background related to the origin of Endymion. The role, what is his role here now in the poem? He plays the role of a lover of Selene, the moon goddess, and is attributed, this role of a lover is attributed to Endymion. So Endymion you can understand as a character from Greek mythology, a man who was deeply in love with Selene, or also called as Cynthia by some versions, as used by the poet here also in the poem. And he is an alien shepherd who was headbound in his love towards Cynthia. He wanted to reach her, he wanted to know where is she, and he was so madly in love with Cynthia that he wanted to search where is he, and he had no clue where does Cynthia reside. So he just embarked upon a journey in order to find Cynthia, where will she be. So this poem begins with basically as a journey of this man Endymion. Let's talk about it a little later. Okay, to brief you up all the 4 books here. You might think what might go ahead after book 1. So I have listed here a brief gist of the 4 books. The poem is divided into 4 books, each approximately 1000 lines long. Now you can imagine how long the poem has been, the book has been. Book 1, part of which we will be dealing here, gives Endymion's account of his dreams and experiences as related to Peona, which provides the background for the rest of the poem. So, as I told you, he is in love with Cynthia and he is talking about his dream that he sees Cynthia in the dreams and his experiences when he starts his journey in search of Cynthia, the moon goddess, or you can call it Selene, Cynthia, moon goddess. Everything is the same. In book 2, Endymion ventures into the underworld in search of his love now. And he encounters Adonis and Venus, a pairing of mortal and immortal, Adonis and Venus. Okay, Adonis is mortal, Venus is immortal goddess, apparently foreshadowing that how Selene and Endymion are also going to meet probably. Book 3 reveals Endymion's enduring love, and he begs the moon not to torment him any longer and wants him to reach him towards Cynthia as soon as possible. Book 4, Endymion falls in love with a beautiful Indian maiden. Both right-winged black steeds to the Mount Olympus where Cynthia awaits, only for Endymion to forsake the goddess for his new mortal love. Endymion, an Indian girl, returns to earth. The latter is saying She cannot be his love. He is miserable, and she reveals that she is in fact Cynthia, and she tells him of how she tried to forget him but couldn't. So, that Indian maiden whom he meets at the mount is basically the Cynthia which he has dreamed of, the beautiful lady whom he has been searching for. So as I've bracketed in below, that we are only concerned with an extract from book 1 here. The other 3 books are just for your reference here. About the extract now, the part of the poem which we will be dealing with. So, the first book of Endymion by John Keats details the speaker's beliefs regarding the power of beauty and his intentions to tell the story of Endymion. This is what you have to remember now. See, he's talking about the power of beauty, 1, and his intention to talk about the story of Endymion. Who is he, what he wanted, why he is here, and what he is going to do. So, he is relating the two, that is the power of beauty and the story of Endymion. So, Endymion, as I've already told you, that he uses classical legends. So, he's coming from the Greek legendary stories. Second point, it starts by painting a rustic scene of trees, rivers, shepherds and sheep. The shepherds gather around an altar and pray to the god shepherds and flocks. As the youth sing and dance, the elder men sit and talk about what life would be in the shades of Elysium. So when all of them are sitting and talking, and this man, Endymion, is also sitting there, he is not bothered, he is not caring to be involved into all those singing and dancing and enjoyment going on. He is dreaming into his own world. However, that is what point 3 tells you. However, Endymion, the brain-sick shepherd prince of Mount Latmos, is in a dreamy state and not participating in their discourse, in the discourse going on in the town. His sister, Peona, takes him away and brings him to her resting place where he sleeps. After he sleeps, and before he wakes, he tells Peona of his encounter with Cynthia. So it is in his dreams that he meets Cynthia. Basic, and how much he loved her. Okay, I would like to point out here, it is not basically his dream, it is his vision. He dreams, would be wrong to say, he visualizes Cynthia, his encounter with Cynthia. So now you can ask me, what is the difference between a vision and a dream? A dream is during your sleep and the vision is when you are awake. So just after he was awake, just after he woke up from his sleep, immediately he saw his encounter with Cynthia. So that was his vision, that he saw Cynthia and he wanted to reach that vision, which becomes the goal for his journey. So this is the beginning wherein John Keats is going to narrate the story of Endymion. So how the poem begins here now. The poem begins with the speaker describing at length the power he believes that beauty holds over human life. He sees it as being a guiding force that, when accepted and appreciated, enters into one's heart and helps to clear one's path through life. Once you fully know beauty, it will never leave you. It transforms the onlooker into the beautiful subject. So, when Keats begins writing his poem, he begins on a general note telling the entire world that beauty is something. When you try to look at something and you find it beautiful, that sight of beauty enchants you so much that leaves an everlasting impression upon your soul and your minds. And this impression will never die. It will never leave you. It will transform you rather into a beautiful object. So, if you find a flower to be beautiful, that beauty will go on staying in your mind forever and ever. That will never come out of your mind and soul. This is the power of beauty. He begins generalizing the idea of beauty and then he goes on to relate it to Endymion, who is also finding Cynthia to be very beautiful, and therefore, because of that idea which he has captured in his mind, that vision which he has captured in his mind about the beautiful Cynthia, he is now mad after looking. Where is she? Mad about to reach her. The second half of the poem tells the speaker's plan to tell the long story of what is about to happen next. So, I hope the background is clear enough for you. Talking about the author, talking about how the 4 books are there existing in the poem Endymion. We are concerned with only first part, first book, and that too a small extract of it. How does your poem begins? It begins by giving you a rustic scene wherein the shepherds are sitting and talking, and Endymion is in his sleep. He just embarked into a vision. Which vision? Of finding Cynthia, and once he looks at Cynthia in his visionary dream or visionary sight, he is so restless now that he is not happy to be into a shepherd's life now, and he wants to start a journey to find Cynthia somewhere on this earth or in this world. She would definitely exist. So this is the background, students. Let's read and interpret the text. Okay. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. This line you must have heard many, many, many times, and you must have been using it also in your sometimes casual conversations also. So this popular line, many of you might not be knowing, comes from the famous poet Keats. And today you would definitely keep it to your knowledge that it comes from the poem Endymion. So a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases, it will never pass into nothingness. So the explanation, the poet begins wherein the alien shepherd has embarked into an immortal sleep. The first stanza helps the speaker in introducing the aspects of life and beauty that he is going to talk in detail in the following stanzas and all the other books. So this aspect of beauty, that beauty is everlasting, it never dies, a thing of beauty, one thing of beauty is a joy forever. One time beauty, one time an enchantment of beauty will give you happiness forever. It will never leave your mind and soul. You'll always find it beautiful. The first line of the poem is quite well known. It says, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. The line is clearly related to Endymion's immortality. He is feeling immortal in the happiness which he has received in thinking about Cynthia. So think of beauty. What is the beauty for Endymion here? The sight of Cynthia, which he has seen in his vision, and it is a joy forever for him now. So he is going to find it beautiful all throughout his life now. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. The line is related to Endymion's immortality, his immortal happiness, which he has found now. It has been taken down to more human level. So he starts telling this line, relating it to Endymion, and also addressing this line to the entire human mortal beings in general. The speaker believes that if something is beautiful, it gives off a joy that will exist throughout time and never reduce. There is no end to the increase of loveliness that will arise alongside beauty. So the loveliness of the beauty will always go on increasing, and it will never pass into nothingness. It will never reduce. It will never recede. It will never die. Once a thing of beauty you have seen, you will enjoy it forever in your minds. Moving on to next line. But still will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams, and health and quiet and breathing. And quiet breathing. Having stated that a beautiful thing will never slip into nothingness, then its beauty shall live forever in the mind of the person who is admiring it. This state of immortality that beauty provides shall give human beings a place to rest at peace in the humdrum world. For example, you're all very troubled today, you are not at all happy, and you are maybe irritated by something, or you are not at all feeling comfortable, or something is troubling you, something is not keeping you happy. Okay? Now, You saw a butterfly somewhere around you, and the sight of the butterfly was so attractive, you got it so properly that the beauty of the butterfly itself has given you some kind of peace, some kind of rest, some kind of comfort in this humdrum world, in the world where you were otherwise troubled, in the world where you were otherwise not at peace. So one small thing of beauty also sometimes gives you a good place to rest. So that's what this line explains, but still will keep a bower quiet for us, a place to rest for us. These things of beauty will give you a place for rest, a place for sleep, a place for comfort, a place for sweet dream, give you good health and give you quiet breathing. That is some kind of regeneration. So a beautiful thing becomes always immortal. This place of rest will provide a mortal being, that is a human being, with sweet dreams as well as good health, and it becomes regenerating for us. So a thing of beauty is so helpful that in times of distress, it gives you a lot of comfort. It takes one in state of extreme peace and happiness. Moving on to next line. Therefore, on every morrow are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth. So every morrow, that is every day, tomorrow, whenever next day comes. Before that, we always through our sense of beauty try to bind ourselves to the existence on the earth. How? See, the above lines explain or speak on how the beauty will take one into the reason to live for another day. Today you found something very attractive, beautiful, or you were very happy with your family or your friends, something that made you happy and comfortable. That reason itself will give you the reason that happiness only will give you the reason to live for another day happily, for tomorrow happily. When one awakens, they will have made through their sleep, experiencing the power of beauty, a band to bind us to the earth. So when you are sleeping and you are experiencing in your dreams some kind of comfort, some kind of power of beauty, or in your vision also when you are awake, you are experiencing the power of beauty. What is the power of beauty? It gives you happiness. So this power of beauty binds you to the earth, makes you go on living on the earth happily. The band is called flowery. Why? Because it comes from your experience of beauty during sleep. It is happy. It is nice. So that is why it is a flowery band. The band is not at all ugly. The more you spend time with beautiful things, the closer you come to earth. So that is why some philosophers mention that how spending time with nature is always relaxing. The more you spend time with beautiful things, the closer you come to earth. Spite of despondence, of the inhuman dearth, of noble natures, of gloomy days. So, despondence, that is sorrows, unkind people, absence of noble natures, unhappy days. What are all these? These are all part of human existence, yet, in spite of all these unhappy things that exist on earth, yet, these things cannot stop you from wreathing or making a flowery band, because all the mankind has access to beauty. In spite of despondence, in spite of inhuman dearth, in spite of the noble natures which are not existing, or in spite of the gloomy days, in spite of unhappiness everywhere around on earth, yet you will be able to experience the power of beauty, because beauty is accessible to everybody. The beauty will not make any differences between the poor or the rich, big or small. So, in spite of gloomy days, man can overcome all the dark aspects of life, unhappy days of life, by experiencing the power of beauty and staying in its immortality. Immortality, when I say, it is like staying in everlasting happiness. Happiness which is never going to end. So in spite of all the problems existing on earth, man can experience beauty and stay immortal, stay always happy. Of all the unhealthy and overdarkened ways made for our searching, yet in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. So the speaker here is talking about how even amongst the darkest days of life, beauty will be there to lift you up from your unhealthy thoughts. Beauty is something will never leave you. It will always be available for you. You have to look at beauty in order to stay happy. Only beauty can help you, power of beauty, looking at the beautiful things can help you in lifting you away from your unhealthy thoughts or your unhappiness which is uncovering you. So of all the unhealthy and over-darkened ways which are going on in your life, which is made for your searching, which is made available for your life, some shape of beauty, some form of beauty will guide you through one's life that provides a way out of dark spirits and shows on a brighter path as if guided by the nature, like sun, moon or trees. So, I hope I'm making sense here. Thus, the speaker is conveying about the life full of diseases and miseries. In these lines, speaker is telling that the life is full of miseries, full of sorrows, made available for us. Made available for us because we are human beings, because we are mortals. We all have to experience the problems on earth when we have taken birth here. So these are the problems, the miseries and the sorrows are part and parcel of life. These are the things which are made available for us by God. Yet, beauty helps in overcoming those aspects and stay happy and blissful. So, in all your darkest times, in all your unhealthy ways, in all your ways which are over darkened, only beauty can help you. And some shape of beauty, any form of beauty, moves away the pall. Pall means the clouds from our dark spirits. The spirits which have become, the souls which have become dark. Dark means sad and unhappy. That can be again happy because the clouds which are on your soul will be removed away by those beautiful things around you. So you need to enjoy the beauties of nature and the things. Such the moon, the trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep. So the above line is in continuation of the previous one, describing that the power of beauty that is seen in the sun, the moon, the trees or any part of the nature around you, all old and new. While moving on the path of beauty, we see trees old and young create shady spots. So trees old and young creating shady spots, shady places for sheep and even for daffodils and even for any other creature for that matter. So it implies that beauty is not reserved for anyone. Rather, it is available for all the creatures on the earth, be it a simple sheep or a daffodil or any other rose plant or any other human being or any creature on this earth, flora, fauna, humans, anyone, beauty is available. It is not reserved. Right from the sun, the moon, the trees, every part of the nature is available for everyone. Thus, the world is made lovely, livable, because of the beauty that can be found and followed here. And such are daffodils, with the green world they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make. Gainst the hot season, the mid-forest brake, rich with sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. Beautiful lines written here by Keats. He says the daffodils, musk rose and other flora as in mid-forest, that thrive on beauty. Daffodils, musk rose, on mid-forest, these are all the beauties of nature. They're all able to create for themselves a cooling covert. Cooling covert, a comfort zone that protects them from the hot season. That is the adversities of nature. Hot season is nothing but the miseries of nature. So they also know how to keep themselves happy. They also know how to keep themselves comfortable because they are able to create a cooling covert for themselves. It is a lesson for the human beings to understand that how we also need to find comfort in the beauties of nature or anything which we find beautiful and live happily in that imagination. This powerful world created by the power of beauty is now, in the third line, juxtaposed with the world that we have imagined for the mighty dead. He says that the world of the living is just as impressive as the world of the dead. The grandeur of the mighty dead, the beauty that the mighty dead carry, is similar to the power of beauty due to their elaborate complications and grand landscapes. So, daffodils, um, with the green world they live in, and clear water streams that for themselves make a cooling covert against the adversities of nature hot season, the mid-forest break, they are all rich with sprinkling of fair musk rose, beautiful roses are sprinkling there, and such too. This is the grandeur in the four lines mentioned here is the grandeur of the living, and such similar is the grandeur or the beauty of the dooms, the dead ones also, we have imagined for the mighty dead. Why? Because they have also elaborate complications and grand landscapes, beauties that exist in their landscapes. All lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink pouring onto us from the heavens bring. So this is in continuation with the previous line. The speaker continues in describing the way that the beauty is able to move through life. All the lovely tales that we have heard or read about the dead, that is a grandeur of the dead. How do we know that the grandeur of the dead is still there? The dead is also the things which are already extinct, which are already over from the face of the earth, were also beautiful. They also carried the power of beauty. How? From the tales which we hear or read. The speaker continues here to describe that the beauty is able to move through life. One such way is through the tales that we have heard or read. These stories are passed from one person to the other and their beauty is always maintained. The power of beauty residing in these tales pours out an endless fountain of immortal happiness, unending happiness. That is, an endless fountain of immortal drink, unending happiness pouring onto us from the heavens bring. This is what we keep getting from the tales that we keep listening or reading. So that was the end of the poem and some figures of speech used by Keats here. I have made a gist of it: metaphor, alliteration and imagery as poetic devices. Some metaphors I have mentioned: example, wreathing a flowery band, bower quiet, sweet dreams. The vast use of imagery can also be seen in phrases like flowery band, shady boon, daffodils in green world, clear rills, grandeur of dooms, cooling covert and endless fountain of eternal drink are of the notable examples. Alliteration like band to bind, cooling covert. So just to reiterate once more, metaphors are where a word which is mentioned or a phrase which is mentioned is not having a direct meaning, a literal meaning, but rather a connotative meaning for the same. Wreathing a flowery band. So it's not exactly taking a flowery band on your wrist. It's like you're making up a beautiful dream or a beautiful vision into your minds and souls. That is wreathing a flowery band. So it is a metaphor. So similarly, imageries which are visual imageries created by the poet in order to enhance the effects of the poem. Then alliteration, that is a repetition of the sounds B and repetition of sound C. So band to bind, B, cooling covert, again double repetition of C. So those are alliterations. So these are few figures of speech which I have listed here. Kindly look into the poem and find few more for your references. Concluding the poem, in Endymion, the title character searches for the source of joy and due to his discontentment, he embarks on a journey to find his dream love. Perfect. So he has seen the vision of Cynthia and he is not happy with his present job, a present work as a shepherd, and he embarks on a journey, starts a journey to find the dream love. So the poem the extract which we are dealing with is only talking about the power of beauty, you would say. After this, the journey for Endymion starts. So before Endymion embarks on his journey for the dream love, poet John Keats wants to set the background for the readers to understand that how the power of beauty is important and how it has enchanted this man Endymion also. The poem of the famous writing by Keats illustrating the power that beauty carries. Third, the speaker believes that when we fully understand the concept of beauty, it can positively transforms our life. Transforms our life. According to him, if something is beautiful, it gives limitless joy and revives our souls. He adds that spending time with beautiful objects changes us. He argues that beauty lifts us in the darker days of our life as it removes unhealthy thoughts and it fills our mind with positive vibes always. Also, it serves as a guiding force during the hard times. Then, this poem received many scornful criticisms about its publication because of free verse, because of some kind of weird imageries being used probably by the poet during those times. Though Keats himself noticed that incoherent style is there in writing of his poetry, yet he never regret writing it. He was filled with joy when he finished writing this beautiful epic poem, Endymion. I hope the session was very useful and this poem is very, very clear to you. Doubts are always welcomed. Thank you so much.